Welcome to Alabama Care, everybody. I am Sarah Williams, and I am with Elizabeth Patton, the Program Coordinator for Disability Rights and Resources, and we will be talking about employment services. Let me pull up the stream real quick. Okay, so my first question is actually introduce yourself more.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth Patton. I'm the program coordinator at Disability Rights and Resources. I am so happy to be here. Thanks to Sarah and Alex and Cliff for letting us do this every month. I really appreciate it. I've been with Disability Rights and Resources for about 5 years now, a little less than 5 years. And prior to that, I worked with ADRS and AIDB. My background is sensory impairments, so I worked with blind and deaf individuals, and I'm just really happy to be here.
Okay, so are you originally from Alabama?
I am not, but I like to say that I got here as fast as I could. No, I'm originally from Seattle, the Seattle area, and then I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico for about 10 years. And I've been
Wow.
here in Birmingham for about 15 now.
Wow. Let's see. So, what is Disability Rights and Resources?
So, Disability Rights and Resources is a center for independent living. There are over 400 across the country. Every state has at least one. In our state, we actually have four. So we have one in Mobile, Montgomery, ours in Birmingham, and a brand new one that just opened up in the Huntsville area. And a Center for Independent Living is a federally mandated private nonprofit that provides non-residential services to individuals with disabilities to become more independent. Really, the goal is to see that all people with disabilities, regardless of age or disability, to be able to live with dignity and make their own choices.
Let's see. How did you get involved with DRR? DRR.
So there was a job ad, and it looked really intriguing. I loved my work at ADRS, and I've always loved working in the disability field. But really, the idea of being able to assist people holistically, so not just focused on jobs and not just focused on blindness, or not just focused on deafness, but being able to assist people with disabilities across all ages and disabilities to live independently, and then take that even a step farther and see the people we work with, to become their own advocates and to really do more systems advocacy across the state. That was important to me, to kind of broaden my focus. And then I just loved the people that interviewed me and that I work with. So it was good.
So, what is your job title and what do they do?
So I'm a programs coordinator. So I coordinate kind of all the services that we provide, what I call the direct services under our Part C and Part B. That's the kind of title for the federal funding. And that's across all 20 counties that Disability Rights and Resources serves. So I supervise our staff of, I'm going to get the number wrong, 8 now, I believe. And we provide services across all the core services and our employment services. So that's independent living services, helping individuals transition from nursing homes or other congregate settings. We have an information referral specialist who can answer questions about disability issues, our employment services, and then we also have some youth transition and diversion services.
Oh, I meant to say this fun fact. I used to work for ADRS.
Did you?
I
I
was a
enjoyed
youth
it. I was
consultant
at
for 3 years.
Okay. Were you in the Homewood office?
No, Montgomery.
Gotcha. I didn't realize you were that
Yeah.
far away.
Yeah. So let's go specifically into employment specialist. So, what does an employment specialist do?
So we have an amazing employment specialist on staff, Chris Adams. He's just incredible. His background, he used to work for Social Security. And so he knows a lot kind of about just what it's like to be a person with a disability. That's another part of being a center for independent living, is that our staff are individuals who have disabilities, or at least allies, or have family members who have disabilities. So we've been through kind of this whole going to work, trying to find work, what it's like to ask for accommodations. So, specifically, our employment specialist works under the Ticket to Work Employment Network program, meaning that we work with Social Security to help those individuals who receive SSI or SSDI to go back to work and become self sustaining. That is the entire program. Those are the individuals who within our center at least who we assist with employment, and Chris does everything from that initial intake and doing career development. So maybe you come in and you say, "I want a job." Well, what kind of job? Any job. But really, would we all take any job? No, so certain jobs
No.
befit certain people, right? And so he
Yeah.
does a lot of career development, the resume writing, helping with cover letters, and really teaching those skills, right? So again, at our center, it's all about being independent. And so he's really teaching people those skills. And then those skills, of course, right, can translate to things like advocating for an apartment to be accessible. If you can go into a job and advocate for accommodations, then you can do it across the board, and then you can help other people learn to accommodate or to
Right.
advocate. So he does those things. He helps with job placement. So he does a lot of talking to employers to see who's hiring and kind of what the trends are. Once you're hired, he can be there to assist you. You know, sometimes it's rocky. Maybe you haven't worked in a while. I know we work with several individuals who haven't worked in a while, or maybe it's their first job, and you need a lot of kind of support and assistance. And so we can be there in the background to help support and listen to the stories and you know, talk through things like interactions with coworkers, for example, and how to navigate those, so we can help people maintain their jobs.
Gotcha. Okay, so what was your first employment and what age were you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I will gladly talk to you about this. So, my very first job, I was a waitress at a nursing home, and I loved it. And I was either 14 or 15. And it was the place to go. If you lived in my little town in Washington, that was the place where all the high schoolers went to go get their first job. And it was incredible.
Mhm.
The nursing home residents were great, and we would jot down their order, and they actually got like choices. It was a very nice nursing home. And then every
Oh,
Sunday they would clean out the fridge, and so if you worked on Sunday, you got to go into like the giant walk-in fridge and eat whatever you wanted, all the pudding, all the jello, all the so no,
wow.
that was my very first job.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really, I remember it very, very fondly. And that led to years and years and years of restaurant work, while I tried to get into the disability field. But yeah.
Gotcha. What is the most rewarding and hardest thing about being an employment specialist?
So I think the most rewarding part is helping an individual to find that job that just fits them, right? So I've always said to
Mhm.
myself that the right job comes along at the right time, and I think that to me is the most rewarding. So not so often people end up being placed in a job or applying for jobs that are just the spur of the moment, or that in the moment job, right? Like, so for example, uh, fast food, or being the lobby attendant at Jack's, or so often those are silverware rollers, easy jobs to be placed into, and that's great. But then often people don't stay in those jobs long term because that's not
Right.
really what they're after, right?
Right.
And so when you find someone, help somebody find that niche, what they're good at, and then they're able to do that for work, I think to me that's the most rewarding. Um, and I think the hardest part, especially doing it from the Center for Independent Living model, which is again that whole we're not necessarily here to find somebody a job. We're here to
Mhm.
assist them to understand what their skills are and how to present those
Right.
skills. And so the hardest part is definitely when someone comes and says, "What do you have for me?" In terms of like a job, like what
Mhm.
jobs do you have for me? And that can be kind of difficult because then we have to explain that like we don't really have drawers full of jobs. We don't have a list. It's not
Mhm.
like an employment agency kind of situation. And then that's across the board with all of our services, right? Trying to
Right.
explain that model of we're here to help people and support people to make their own decisions, and provide them with the options and the resources and the support that they need, but we're not here to do it for them. And so I think that
Exactly.
to me is the hardest part. Yeah.
Gotcha. Um, what does the process of working with an employment specialist look like?
Oh, okay. So if you were to come to DRR, to Disability Rights and Resources, the first thing you're going to do is either you're going to get in touch with Sparrow, who's our amazing receptionist, or Heather, who's our amazing information referral specialist. Those two ladies really are usually the people who get the first phone call. And they're going to refer you to our website, which is drradvocates.org. And you'll go to the services page, and there'll be an application for services. And you can complete that, and you can always register for other services with us if you'd like our independent living skills services or peer support. But on that application, you'll see a box for employment services, and you'll check that. And then
Mhm.
that will go directly to Chris Adams, who is our employment specialist. He will reach out and contact that person. And the very first thing that's going to happen is a phone call. And especially now during COVID, we're not doing a lot of in-person work, so but no matter even after the pandemic, right? So you're going to get a phone call, and it's going to be
Right.
a lot of just nice to meet you. Just a lot of, we're not going to get into the nitty gritty, right? That first phone call, it's going to be a lot of tell me about yourself, let me tell you about myself, and just kind of building that relationship, because I think it's going to be important uh, for long-term employment to have that relationship. And really, that's
Right.
what we're all about, is that peer model, that peer relationship.
Mhm.
So that's the first step. And then there'll be some paperwork, right? There'll be Social Security requires us to have people do an independent work plan. Um, but it's important because it really lays out the groundwork. It's really a contract between Chris and whoever he's working with as somebody looking for employment. It lays out, what has this person done before for work? What do they want to do? What are their short-term goals and long-term goals? And how will we assist that person in getting there? And when I say it's a contract, it really is a contract. We really, if we say we're going to help with resume writing, we've got to do that. That is part of what we're there to do.
Gotcha.
But the other half of it is that the person who wants employment, like I was talking about earlier, is also going to have their own responsibility. So if we're going to assist you with helping to write the resume and help like edit grammar and work on the what a resume should look like, then you need to bring to the table your past work experience and your skills.
Right.
So that's kind of the first step of what you would expect if you were to come to us for employment services.
Okay. Um, so what is the overall goal of working with an employment specialist?
So I think the overall goal, the vision, our vision of this program is to see any person with a disability who wants to go to work to be evaluated for work based on their own skills. So rather than being placed in a program as a person with a disability, right? Like people with disabilities, our vision is people with disabilities should be able to go out and get their own jobs based on their own skills,
Mm-hmm.
and not have to just do fast food, or not have to go in and say I work with disability rights and resources. So that's our overall vision. The goal of our Social Security Ticket to Work program, when I say is to become self-sufficient, the goal is really to be able to come off benefits and really
Mm-hmm.
rely on your paycheck. That is the goal of
Right.
our Ticket to Work program with Chris. So you need to know that going in. Now, it
Right.
doesn't mean tomorrow. Doesn't mean, oh my gosh, tomorrow you're going to stop. It does not. Um, there's like a 5-year grace period. We're going to work towards that, right? So maybe there's some schooling that needs to happen before you can get a
Mm-hmm.
position that will allow you to do that. But Social Security, if you receive SSI or SSDI and you have a
Mm-hmm.
ticket, they're going to do assessments on whether or not you're meeting those standards. You're meeting kind of those goals of becoming self-sufficient. And so
Gotcha.
working with us, we can help you to do that. Another good benefit, if you are receiving SSI or SSDI, is that as long as your ticket is assigned to an employment network, which is what we are, you can forego the medical review process. As long as you're making those meeting those levels and working towards self-sufficiency.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm actually going through the medical review thing right now, so
So you know all
bypassing
about it.
bypassing that would be great.
Exactly, exactly. And we also have on staff, we have a benefits counselor who can help work through, because I know a lot of people, when they hear self-sufficiency and coming off those benefits, right, it's like, oh, what happens to my Medicaid, what happens to my Medicare, what
Right.
happens to, there's a lot of questions, and we do have someone on staff we can refer them to. to answer some of those questions and to alleviate some of the fear, because there are programs. It's not like a go to work either or type of situation.
Yeah,
So
gotcha. Um, so what was it like during COVID? And is it starting to get busier? Or I know that y'all are working from home. I guess everyone
yeah,
still is at DRR.
we are. We are. Our staff are still working from home. We have the ability. We have a computer lab in our Birmingham office where people can come to do resumes and things, and that is set up for social distancing. So if someone were to want to come in, we do have some leeway there. But for the most part, we are still working from home. Um, I will say that it got a little slow, right? So we saw
Mm-hmm.
many people who were working lose their jobs. So those individuals who were in the hospitality industry, and so there is an influx of individuals who are now looking for work, who have disabilities. Um, there was a lot of our work was doing a lot of advocacy towards assisting those individuals, making sure they knew about the unemployment during COVID, and now businesses are starting to open back up, right? We see all the time
Mm-hmm.
businesses talking about how they need employees.
Right.
So really, again, making sure that we're assisting those people who are looking for employment to find the best employment for them.
What are different ways that DRR is helping people become employable?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I will. This is one of my favorite topics. No, it's good. It's good. I love to talk about, like, because we can talk about like employment services all day long, right? There are many different agencies out there, but let me tell you about why we're the best and we're awesome, and we have the value added is really what I'm trying to say, is what is the value that we bring to those people looking for employment. The biggest one is the peer support, right? So how often do you go to an agency or you go somewhere and you're the only person with a disability, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody really knows? Your family doesn't know what you're going through. The employer doesn't know what you're going through, and you sit
Mm-hmm.
down with your social worker or your case manager, and they tell you kind of what to do, right? So what we bring to the table is the Facebook peer support group. We
Mm-hmm.
bring, like, you get to talk about your experiences with other people with disabilities, and I think that to me is probably the biggest thing. So we're able to tell people, because, right, people with disabilities, when we go looking for work, it's different than somebody who considers themselves like able-bodied or non-disabled to go
Right.
look for work. And so we're really able to give each other clues, and it's a internet term, but life pro tips, as to how to go about getting employment. So the value added is that we do have a benefits counselor on staff. We're a small staff. We're an intimate staff. We're here to help people as quickly as we can. And so that I think is another value added. If you're thinking about going to work, um, do you want it to take a while to get that information about what's going to happen to your benefits, or do you want someone to respond quickly, and in a knowing and understanding way, so that you can make the best decision about going to work? So I think
Right.
that's the third one, is that we are here, to if you call in, somebody at our center is going to help you, right? Um, and then the third way we do is a lot of that, building self confidence and self efficacy. So we go through
Mm-hmm.
that whole skill building stuff, because when you go into an interview, you can memorize answers, right? But is that the person
Right.
who's going to get the job, or is it the person who can go in and be like, "Man, I'm punctual, and I'll tell you why I'm punctual, because I show up to school every day at the right time,"
Mm-hmm.
or somebody who has that self confidence. So I think those are really the
Mm-hmm.
three ways we can help people to find employment.
Yeah, HRS was actually my first real big girl
Yeah.
job. That interview was scary.
Did you have a panel interview?
There were three
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
then one of them actually had to leave, so I did the
Oh
rest of the
gosh.
interview with just two. But it was something.
I do. I remember. Yeah, my first interview in this field was, with AIDB. And same
Mhm.
thing. I believe there was four people, and they were set up on this big table, right? And I was way back
Mhm.
here on my own, and
Mhm.
yeah, it was very nerve wracking. Uh,
Yeah, I just don't like going into things where I don't know what they're gonna ask
yeah.
because I can't prepare, and I'm the one of those people that wants to prepare.
Yes. Oh, I believe me, I understand that completely. I've just yesterday at a peer support meeting, I was talking about how often I what I call abandon ship, where if it's something that I've
Mhm.
prepared for and something changes or I'm not prepared for it, I will
Mhm.
exit the situation. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yes, exactly. So again, I mean, I think like exactly like you and I are talking is a fantastic example of being able to say to somebody, "Oh, you have an interview with ADRS. Here's what to expect."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what is the average age you serve through DRR?
I would say the average age is going to be, gosh, if we had to average it, 42. So we
Wow.
we we assist any, yeah, we assist people of all ages.
Mhm.
And if I had to average it, I would say 42, but that's kind of just a guess off the top of my head. When we do our annual report, there's categories, right? So the
Mhm.
majority of our consumers fall into an average of 37 years old to 45 years old.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking it would be a little younger, like
Well,
when I was
hopefully
coming up with
through
the question.
yeah, hopefully through Alabama Cares, we can get some younger folks.
Yeah.
We would love to start assisting some younger individuals for sure.
Um, let's see. Are there any misconceptions about supported employment?
Yeah. So I think, oh my gosh. So supported employment, and I will plug right now, if y'all don't know about it, the Alabama APSE is doing a virtual conference this year, and they are fantastic at supported employment. So I will plug their conference at Al APSE. I believe that's in July or August. But I'll plug that for a second. Yeah. So the biggest misconceptions about supported employment, really, I think, is that this individual won't be able to do the job and that the job will be done by the support person, which is
Right.
completely incorrect, right? The support person is just there to provide support. I think the other assumption is that the support person will always be there. And that
Mhm.
isn't really the goal, right? The goal is eventually for the support person to kind of fade away and come in and out and be there for support, but not to be there constantly. And so I think those are the two biggest misconceptions, that the individual themselves is not really working, right?
Mhm.
Um, when they are, and then I think the other biggest misconception is that the coworkers and even supervisors speaking to the support person rather than speaking to the worker, the employee. I think
Yes.
that to me is probably the biggest. I don't
Yeah.
even know if it's a misconception. It's just a miscommunication. It just takes
Mhm.
education for them to learn that they still need to be talking to the employee. That
Yeah.
the support person is not the employee and is not. I hear a lot of stuff like, "Well, John didn't clock in. Why don't you go clock in for him?" And it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's not really the support person's job, right? The John still
Mhm.
needs to learn to
He
clock in, kind of
yeah,
thing.
he
So
can do it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot from, like, friends and me in general, 'cause,
Yeah.
I have a bunch of friends in, like, wheelchairs and stuff,
Hmm.
and people are like, "Can you actually do that?"
Right, right, exactly.
Just because like, we can't walk or
Right, and it's like, yeah, and again, I think that's where it comes. The Disability Rights and Resources does a lot of systems advocacy and a lot of that kind of education to
Mhm.
try and, but it's going to take us a long time, I think, to get there.
Right.
But I agree with you. It'd be nice to be able to go into a job and not even with support and not be asked those questions or have that be
Yeah,
the assumption
exactly.
that just because you use a wheelchair, you can't clock in on your own, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, okay, what would you say to someone looking for employment, just in general?
Mhm. So in general, I would say the very first thing is to be picky about it. If you are just scattershotting applications, that it doesn't get like companies, right, are getting so many applications that if you're just scattershotting and applying for 30 different jobs, it doesn't help you. It's not going to get you that job that's the long term kind of self fulfillment position. So I would say
Mhm.
the very first thing is sit down. I know this is hard, right? Because if you decide you want to go to work, sometimes it's like, I want to go tomorrow. Let's do this. But if you take just a bit to sit down and look at what are your skills. Look back at everything you've done, be it work,
Right.
school, church, family. What are your skills? What do you like to do? And then we're like, let's look at some of the logistics. So,
Mhm.
for just as an example, if I were to apply for a job that I wanted, but it was in Montgomery, and I live in Birmingham with my 15-month old son, is that
Mhm.
really going to work out, right? No matter how excited I
Right.
am and how much I want that job, am I really going to drive to Montgomery back and forth 4 times a day with a 15-month-old?
Right.
Probably not. So I think being really honest with right. So I think being really honest with where you live, how you're going to get to work, how many
Mhm.
hours can you work, um, and then building your support team, which is what we're also here to do. So I think really being
Right.
honest with yourself about your skills, your ability, and the logistics of your life, and then building your support team.
Right. That I think that was me when I first resigned. Back in February. I wanted something right then, something else right then,
Exactly.
and I hadn't even started to apply.
Right, right. Like that's kind of how it is. You're like, oh, I want to do
But
this, and this is what I'm going to do. Yeah.
I had been like so used to working, and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden I just wasn't.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough. That is tough.
Yeah, it took a long time to get out of the mindset of, oh, I don't have to go to work right now.
Right.
um, let's see. How does someone get in touch with you to learn about your services? So about
So,
like the
mhm.
uh, employment specialists
Yeah.
like
So I
that.
Yeah, so I don't have my chat up, so I'm hoping some of our staff are on the chat and able to type out what I'm about to read out. But the best
Yeah,
way
they
would be
are.
to call. Oh, good, good, good. To call 205-251-2223. That's our main line number, and you'll get Sparrow, and you want to ask for Chris Adams or the Employment Network. You could go to if you wanted to just go ahead and straight apply, you can go to drradvocates.org. And then I'm going to give you Chris Adams's email address so you can email him if you need to. It's Chris, CHRIS, Adams, ADAMS, at drradvocates.org. So those are the 3 ways I would say you can best to get in touch with him.
Gotcha. And it looks like AC put all that on in there.
Thank, thank you, AC. I appreciate it.
I think that was all of my questions. Is there anything else
I think that's it.
you'd like to touch on?
I think just the kind of the plug I want to make for disability rights and resources as a whole is always just that idea of community. We are here to build and bring together the community of people with disabilities to support one another, all the way from employment. Um, and those little things, which employment's not, but like just the little day-to-day peer support type stuff,
Mhm.
unemployment, all the way up to the big systems advocacy. Let's go knock on the door of Montgomery and demand and tell them what we need. So I think that's just my last plug for disability rights and resources, and our amazing staff. We have Chris is incredible. I just can't say enough about all our staff across the board. So
Yeah. Let's see. See if we have any comments in the chat. Um, disability rights and resources. Uh, they posted the website.
thank you guys.
Disability Resource Network said, "Good afternoon." Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hey y'all. That's our Center for Independent Living up in Huntsville, Disability Resource Network.
Gotcha. Um, Disability Rights and Resources posted the Facebook peer support group.
Nice. That's our new virtual. We had our first meeting yesterday, or maybe the week is going by. So it was either that
I think
yesterday or the day before,
I think it
and
was
it
yesterday.
was it yesterday, and it was phenomenal. It was incredible. It's just a great. The virtual peer support is just an opportunity for people with disabilities to get together and kind of talk about what our goals are for independent living and what barriers there are, and then help one another to overcome those barriers. So I'm glad you linked that. Thanks, y'all.
Mhm. Um, AC put the DRRadvocates.org website in. AC put the office number in. Uh, Disability Rights and Resources put Chris Adams' email,
Excellent.
and they also put the office number again, and the uh, website again.
Awesome.
And Heather
So
Sims
see, there's
said you did
see, there's no
awesome.
excuse. Ah, thank you,
Yeah.
Heather. See, there's no excuse. Y'all need to just contact us. You have no reason not to. Really, we are incredibly laid back, and we really just want people to come and experience what the independent living philosophy and the independent living movement's all about, and don't feel like you have to come and say anything. Just if you see one of our events out there, please feel free to show up and just watch and listen and see what the independent living movement's all about.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think that's it.
All right. Sarah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All
Thanks. Have a good day.
right, you too.